Okay, let's dive right in. I want you to think of your brain, your mind, as a computer running on an operating system. A set of rules for how it processes the world. But here's the problem. That OS is seriously outdated. It was designed for a much, much simpler time. If you grew up before the internet really took off, your system was built for a world with information gatekeepers. But if you were born after 2000, you inherited that old code while living in a world of complete information overload. Either way, that old system is struggling to keep up.
I mean, think about it. We are now in a world where seeing is absolutely not believing anymore. Artificial intelligence can create images and videos of things that never happened, and they look completely real. That old rule you run on, the one that says, "I'll believe it when I see it," yeah, that's not a rule anymore. It's a critical vulnerability in your code.
And on top of that, our social media feeds are literally designed to show us more of what we already like and agree with. They build these little customized realities that feel totally true, totally complete, but they're dangerously narrow. They're walling you off from different points of view, reinforcing your biases without you even noticing it's happening.
And as if that wasn't enough to deal with, even the people we are supposed to trust, the scientists, the academics, the experts, they can't seem to agree on the basic facts a lot of the time. So when the experts are all fighting, who are you supposed to believe?
So, this is the big question, right? In this absolute flood of information, misinformation, and conflicting stories, how does your brain, your operating system, actually decide what's real? This isn't just some fun little puzzle. It's about the very foundation of how you see the world.
To really get what's going on, we need to look under the hood. We've got to examine the original source code, what you could call Mental OS 1.0, that's been powering our idea of knowledge for literally centuries. Philosophers have a name for this whole field: epistemology.
Now, I know that sounds super academic, but stick with me. This is not just some dusty old debate. Epistemology is basically the operating manual for your mind. It's trying to figure out what separates real, genuine knowledge from just a lucky guess, a strong opinion, or, a delusion we happen to like.
For over 2,000 years, think about that, all the way back to Plato, the definition of knowledge seemed pretty straightforward and honestly kind of elegant. It was called justified true belief, or JTB for short. To know something, 3 things had to be in place. 1, you had to believe it. 2, it had to actually be true. And 3, you had to have good reasons, justification, for believing it. Simple, logical, and for a very, very long time, everybody thought this was it.
But then, it all came crashing down. In 1963, a philosopher named Edmund Gettier published this tiny 3-page paper that acted like a system-crashing bug in that 2,000-year-old code. He showed, brilliantly, that you could have a justified, true belief that still somehow wasn't actually knowledge.
So here's a classic example to show how it works. Let's say you're pretty sure your coworker, Jones, is getting the promotion. You heard the boss praising him, all the signs are there. A bit later, you see Jones counting change at his desk, and you notice he has exactly 10 coins in his pocket. So you put those 2 things together and form a very specific belief. The person who will get the promotion has 10 coins in their pocket. Seems logical, right? It's justified based on your evidence.
But here comes the twist. The boss calls you into the office, and you get the promotion, not Jones. So your original evidence was totally misleading. But then, just for kicks, you check your own pocket. And what do you know? By pure random dumb luck, you also have 10 coins. Which means your belief, the person who gets the promotion has 10 coins in their pocket, was technically true.
And that's the heart of the Gettier problem. Your belief was justified, and it turned out to be true. But did you really know it? And intuitively, we all have the same reaction. No way. You just got lucky. And this little story revealed a massive crack in our understanding of knowledge. It showed that justification and truth aren't enough if they're only connected by a complete accident.
Now, this bug doesn't just mess with a philosophical definition. It points to a much deeper, much scarier vulnerability in our mental OS, the possibility that our entire perception of reality could be one big illusion.
What's so wild is that this isn't even a new fear. It's just had a high-tech makeover. Back in the 17th century, the philosopher René Descartes worried about an evil demon tricking all his senses. Today, we talk about being a brain in a vat or living inside the Matrix. For anyone who grew up with video games and digital worlds, that simulation idea feels way less like a philosophical game and way more like a terrifying possibility.
And that right there, that's the ultimate skeptical challenge. It's the security threat that could corrupt your whole system. Because if you really think about it, if you can't be 100% certain that you're not in a perfect simulation, how can you be 100% certain about, well, anything you see or touch?
So what's the fix? It's become pretty clear our individual operating systems are vulnerable. The old code is buggy, it can't handle these new threats by itself. So over time, we've installed a kind of patch to make it all work. And what is that patch? It's other people. It's the social network.
Just look at this breakdown. It's kind of shocking. Most of what you think you know, everything from basic history to how atoms work, it didn't come from you seeing it with your own two eyes. It came from testimony. Somebody told you. You read it in a book. You learned it from a teacher or a scientist you trust. We are, at our core, social knowers.
And this social network patch is amazing. It lets us build these incredible shared projects like science and history. But it's a total double-edged sword. It relies completely on trust. And that trust opens up a whole new set of vulnerabilities. It's why we get trapped in echo chambers, and it's how something called epistemic injustice happens. That's when someone's knowledge gets dismissed just because of who they are, which silences important voices and makes all of us dumber.
A buggy patch can only get us so far, though. The world is just too complex now. So it's time for the final step. We have to upgrade the user. And that user is you.
There's this really powerful idea called virtue epistemology, and it argues that maybe we've been focusing on the wrong thing all along. Instead of trying to perfect the software, what you believe, we should be focusing on upgrading the hardware, the intellectual character of the person doing the believing. It's about how you think.
And these are like the core apps for your new and improved Mental OS 2.0. Intellectual humility, that's just being honest about what you don't know. Intellectual courage, that's having the guts to question your own side, to follow the evidence even if it makes you uncomfortable. And things like open-mindedness and carefulness, that's your new antivirus and malware protection, constantly scanning for bad information.
So here's the bottom line. In a world this chaotic and flooded with information, knowledge isn't a passive thing you just have, like a possession. It's an active thing you do. It's a practice. Upgrading your mental OS isn't some one-time download. It's a choice you have to actively make every single day with every article you read and every conversation you have. So the only real question left is, are you practicing?